Now, animal rights activists want an award-winning pub called, wait for it, the Woolpack, to change its name because they claim the wool industry is, you know it's coming, don't you, cruel to sheep. PETA says the Woolpack Inn in Gloucestershire, a village of Slad, is that how you pronounce it, should instead be called the Plant Woolpack to promote environmentally friendly alternatives to sheep's wool. But the pub's owner is understandably standing firm and says he won't change its name. I'm not even making this up, I'm really not. So, joined now by Metcalf-Fisher, who's Director of External Affairs at the Countryside Alliance, and Elisa Allen, who is the Vice President of Programmes at PETA. Thank you so much for joining me. Really good to see you. Now, having a bit of fun with this one, because I know how PETA operate, if you don't mind me saying, you are brilliant at getting publicity. But I'm just going to come to you first, Mo, on this one. Is this just going a little bit too far?
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, Dawn, GB News has done a huge amount in recent months to highlight the plight of our pubs. Pubs bring people together from all walks of life, not just in the countryside, but in towns. But in the countryside, they're incredibly important. And, you know, I'm sure it's not going to bother this landlord too much, but I'm sure he's got more important things to be doing than dealing with the attention seekers at PETA. And I hope, if anything, this just promotes the pub to all the people that visit our beautiful Cotswolds. Go along, get a pint, have a great time.
Elisa, I mean, you know, pubs are suffering at the moment. They really are struggling to survive. You know, this landlord will have more important things to worry about. Aren't you being a bit mean picking on them?
Look, I know that you're going to think that initially this request sounds silly, and it is really, it's a lighthearted request, but it would genuinely be a meaningful way to celebrate wool made from plants, from cotton, from bamboo, from locally grown flax, which is used to make linen, rather than wool violently taken from sheep. It's a way to continue to evolve, to continue to put the pub on the map. Why not give it a try? PETA has offered to pay the cost of all the rebranding associated. We think it's a wonderful idea, and we hope that the pub owners will consider it.
Elisa, the one slight problem, we grow sheep quite well in this country. It's quite a nice place to grow sheep. We have a problem growing cotton. I haven't noticed any cotton fields in the country at the moment. So, I mean, by using the sheep, we're not importing stuff from halfway across the road, which is then destroying the planet, which we're all not meant to be doing either.
Well, the choice isn't between wool or cotton. Like I said, we can also choose
you
linen,
mentioned cotton, that's
which
why.
is grown from flax, and that's locally grown in Gloucester. But, you know, one important part of this conversation that we really need to have is why we need to move away from sheep's wool. And, you know, there was a time in my life when I thought that this was a benign product, a cruelty-free product, and I wish that were so, but it's just not the case. PETA has released exposés filmed across 4 continents at over 150 shearing facilities, and at every single one of those, investigators documented violence towards sheep. The sheep were punched in the face, they were beaten with clippers, with hammers, they were stomped on, their faces were slammed repeatedly into the floor. And, you know, honestly, the footage is brutal, and most people could not stomach watching it for more than a few seconds. It's truly that bad, and that's part of the reason why we're promoting plant wools, because these are fabrics that don't harm animals, that don't harm a hair in an animal's head, that are truly cruelty-free.
OK, let's bring Mo back into the conversation. Mo, do you recognise what Elisa's just said?
No, I don't recognise it. And actually, if you advocate for animal welfare and animal care, you would support shearing. I don't know if you've ever seen an unsheared sheep, but the results are quite horrific. Anything from sheep suffering from heat stroke to fly strike, which is essentially maggots eating away at the flesh of the sheep. And also the vision of sheep can be impaired too. Look, if you care about sheep, as sheep farmers do in our country, many of whom have been on your show, Dawn, then you have to advocate for shearing. Farmers love their animals, they care for them, and they really don't need PETA sticking their oar in, spreading misinformation. And also, we don't need our pub landlords attacked any further than they already are.
Is it in any way cruel? Sorry, I'll bring you back in a minute, Elisa. Is it in any way cruel, Mo?
It is a natural process. We have to do it to protect the sheep. It is important for animal husbandry, but also for the welfare of sheep. It is the equivalent of getting your hair cut. You know, it's a fast process. Farmers have to go through a large number, and they know what they're doing. They're seasoned and experienced. And with all due respect, I'm going to listen to those experts, not the self-appointed one at PETA.
OK, Elisa?
Two things. Without human interference, sheep would grow just enough wool to keep themselves warm, and then they would naturally shed that excess wool in the summer months. But humans have meddled with sheep's genetics to make them grow far more wool than they need. And so that is part of the problem. Also, Mo mentioned farmers here in the UK. And so I want to talk about that too, because we have documented what is happening here in the UK. And in fact, just a few years ago, PETA entities secured the first ever conviction for a sheep farmer in Scotland after our undercover footage showed him brutally punching sheep in the face. A court of law deemed that he had caused unnecessary suffering to sheep. So we cannot, you may argue with PETA, but you're surely not going to argue against a court of justice. This isn't an anomaly. I'd love to say this is one bad apple, but this is the cruelty that we documented is systematic.
Mo, Elisa, thank you so much. Unfortunately, we have run out of time on that one. We could